Hello everyone, my name is Febiven and I've been a professional League of Legends player for over a decade, and today I'm gonna be reviewing KC against MKOI in the LEC Spring Playoffs, and I'm gonna be talking about how MKOI actually beats KC, and I'm gonna go over a lot of things that I believe that are very important and how I think that KC actually fell against the third seed of the LEC. I'm not gonna go too much into the draft because every team kind of has their own style, it's fearless, so the drafts are kind of, in my opinion, a little bit unpredictable. So I'm just gonna go over a few patterns that I see that MKOI is doing well, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about KC as well, what they could have done and some good plays they did. So let's get straight into it. In game one, what I noticed is that it's the first seed against the third seed. Obviously, MKOI's composition is kind of defensive, but they can also be offensive, so there's a lot of potential for the right side to look for picks, and they also have a lot of disengage because Xayah is very good at just peeling. The same for Galio, and Rel can just do whatever she wants. The same with Vi, really flexible champions. So the early game is kind of not much happening. It's a kind of stale game for the first 10 minutes, and there I'm gonna be skipping towards the 10-minute mark where I believe the first objectives being taken. So as you can see, Drake is already up and KC actually decides to hit the dragon. The only thing is that the Rumble doesn't have teleport, as you can see, and Ahri is on top lane with teleport. So the problem here is that KC starts a dragon, but their top laner doesn't have teleport and he's on the other side of the map. So what happens is the Ahri preemptively TPs to get there way before the Rumble does. So this way KC naturally has to back off. MKOI just takes a free Drake by using their TP advantage, which is great, and now they use their top laner's teleport to reset and just defend topside. So this is a very great play by MKOI, just using their TP advantage. I'm sure they will be timing their teleports, and this is why timing TP is so important. So they kind of just get a free dragon, and KC just ends up wasting time. So this is the first great thing they do. Now I'm gonna be skipping towards the second dragon because there's not much happening. As you can see, there's no kills yet. So KC here decides to play for the Herald. I'm not exactly sure why, because I do believe they're actually not that weak to be fighting this Drake. If you look at the gold, they're a little bit ahead. They have a Rumble, they have a Silas and a Sinza, which are kind of spiking with one item. So I don't really understand why they go for the trade. However, this means, again, they see that KC used their tempo on the Herald. So this means they can just take a Drake for free without any contest happening. Alright, so very good from MKOI. Getting 2 Drakes in 60 minutes with a comp like this is awesome, because I would say they are outscaling in this game. So I'm gonna be skipping to the next point, which is gonna be a top lane dive, which ends up in a disaster for KC. And it kind of feels like they're a little bit desperate already from this point. So what happens is that KC has tempo on the top side of the map. Silas has a wave set up. They're using this wave to set up for a dive. Now, the jungle support from KC are together looking for the top lane dive. However, Elyoya spots and kind of smells this, which is obviously very good. If he would actually interrupt his recall here, then Jojo would just die. So what Elyoya does here is great. They go for the dive, and instantly Elyoya smells it and just defends it. Jojo plays it really good. They end up outplaying it 2 versus 3, which is just very, I would say it's a kind of a blunder from KC. However, if you look right now, the dragon is spawning in 1:15. So from this play, they actually end up getting a lot of tempo, which they're going to use to get Drake again. Now this is going to be their third Drake, which puts a lot of pressure on KC because they're going to be at soul point if they don't contest the next one. So let's see how they use their pressure to set up for the next dragon. So the dragon is spawning in 20 seconds. Ahri has teleport up, and they have control of the dragon. Now, they notice that KC is pushing mid lane, so they send Mirwin, which is a Galio, which is a global, to the mid wave to just neutralize it. Because even if there's a fight happening, Galio can just ultimate in, and he doesn't really have to be sitting here. It's just very inefficient. He should just clear the wave and just use his global to join the fight. It's kind of the same when you play with a Kai'Sa and stuff like this. So what happens here is that MKOI has the position. They start the Drake. They have great control. 1 ping, 1-1. So 3 pings. They hit the dragon. They don't feel the need to go in because they're so good at peeling back as well. As you can see, Xayah has 2 items. So if they dive into Xayah, Xayah is just gonna clean up, and they can't really run into a Rel because he has Flash ultimate available. Plus the Galio ult coming on top, and the Ahri follow up, and the Vi can do whatever she wants as well. So they hit the dragon. Now, of course, Xayah has a very good damage on Drake, especially with executing it with the feathers. So they're probably looking to make it low and then execute it. So as you can see here, Yike goes in at 4000 HP with Targamas, and Alvaro stops the rest of the team from entering, which is obviously very good. Gets a 3-man ultimate. There comes a Galio ulti on top. And as you notice here, Elyoya and Supa will be winning the 2v2 against Yike and Targamas because simply they're just stronger. And naturally an AD plus a jungle will win against the jungle support at the stage of the game. And MKOI's jungle, mid and top laner are making a lot of time, getting 1 kill. But what is essential is that they are creating more time in this space than KC is spending in this area. So obviously the jungler is dead, so they get the Drake. They clean up the fight. Great play from MKOI again. They set up the objective, they let the enemies come, then they use their zoning engage to go in. They give up Mirwin, but who cares about giving up your top laner when you get the 3rd Drake and you end up winning the fight anyways, right? So very, very, very good team fighting by MKOI. And now KC is very desperate. You're 23 minutes in the game. The next Drake is spawning in 3 minutes and it's gonna be soul point for MKOI. If you don't fight this, your chances of winning are very, very low. All right, so this is what I notice about KC in this series. It's already started in game 1. They are very desperate at looking for picks. But in this kind of scenario, like MKOI plays it very well. They're playing Xayah, which is, as I said, very good at disengaging. So like engaging like this is almost never gonna work unless you hard CC and one-shot the Xayah. As you can see here, Xayah has everything up. Flash goes ultimate. So I'm just gonna play the clip and show you what happens. So MKOI's ADC just ults the Rakan R, instantly feathers 2 people, and they end up killing Targamas for free. They end up killing Yike as well for free. And now the fight is essentially over. However, they keep going, which is okay. But right now they could actually be running into the Atakan and be taking it. However, they end up going for some more kills. And actually KC ends up cleaning up, which I think is a little bit of a mistake from MKOI. But this is what you see a lot when teams get kills. They try to tend to get more kills instead of going for the objective. So I think this was a little bit too much and actually ends up being a 2-for-2, which should have been a 2-for-1 for MKOI. Now the Drake is spawning in 1 minute and MKOI is obviously gonna be in a great position. They get mid pressure. They have 3 Drakes already. And again, you see here that KC gets very, very desperate, going in very deep again. However, they don't actually end up locking down the ADC. They go too deep again. And they just get a clean fight because KC's over-aggression is just punished. And the KC just don't have the tools to lock down the ADC. And this is where they get the soul, which is obviously very big. Hextech soul is very OP. They also get the Atakan. And with this lead, they will be playing for the Baron into top side. As you can see here, Xayah is 3 items. Of course, the soul is going to be doing big damage. So they get full control of the Baron area, as you can see, and they will be getting mid pressure, keeping the control. Of course, the guy is going to be holding side lane because he has TP available. Now, KC has 0 vision at all, and this is the moment where they kind of have to face check to get control. Now, MKOI just does nothing, sits on their pink wards, and just waits for a pick, which is obviously what their team comp is great at. You have Ari Charm, you have Vi engage, you have Rel engage, and again, they get a pick. They start cleaning up. Get another great charm on the ADC. Essentially, this is going to be your free Baron already because as you can see, the Silas is dead. And the Xin Zhao is already very low HP. And KC already used all their ultimates besides the Rakana one. So right now, obviously, MKOI's plan is just to go Baron. And they would just get the Nash and then they can easily finish the game with the Baron. So they end up killing, chasing, great stuff. They go Baron, and this is essentially game over because the Soul plus the Xayah scaling, they just have no way to ever get through the team comp of MKOI to actually kill the Xayah, which right now is just gonna one-shot everyone. So they use their waves properly, they sync bot and mid, which is obviously great, and then again, KC gets very desperate, which is what I'm going to be showing throughout this whole series. And they just end up face checking and dying. So this is the first game. They had great Drag setup, great team fighting. They played very well around the AD carry. I feel like they didn't really feel pressured at all. They just played around the objectives and let KC come in because they're very short range and they kind of have to overcommit for the objective to try to get it. So that's for the first game. Very well played. And of course, they could have done some little things better. Also, KC made a lot of mistakes. However, those are the things that I think MKOI did great in this game. I'm going to be going over the third game. And my first point is going to be the bot lane dive. So, as you can see here, MKOI has their bot lane pressure and their jungler is pathing towards bot side. Now, as well, because of the nature of the mid lane matchup, they will also have their mid laner move. So this is essentially what a lot of teams do. They slow push the bot wave, they connect with their jungler, and in the ideal situation, their mid lane can also move. So in this scenario, there's a very big wave. And what teams usually do is they trade their support to kill the enemy ADC, which is going to happen here. And it will end up being very worth it. So they end up diving. They're dropping their support. Then they redive, they kill Kalist. And actually Jojo as well gets the kill on the Alistar. So, great early game so far from MKOI. The Varus does have teleport, so it doesn't lose that much. However, the Talia has a kill and the Trundle as well has a kill. So, I'm going to be showing you what they do with their next prio. Now, they have, of course, the lead on the mid lane. They have a lead on the bot lane. And again, they use the slow push to get another objective, which is in this case a Drake. Now, this is an Ocean Soul, Ocean Drake, which is very valuable, especially in matchups like Talia against Victor because it's very poke heavy oriented, and it's the same against Varus. So the Ocean Soul, Ocean Drake, very, very good this game for MKOI. So great slow push into just securing it. Now this is gonna be a scenario where again KC gets over aggressive, and what I noticed in this series, this is a trend that happens every game multiple times. MKOI just punishes the over aggression very well. So here, this is just a timer where KC cannot be walking into this tri-bush at all. First of all, because their mid laner is in base. And they're just weaker 3 versus 3. So again, mistake by KC, very well punished by MKOI. And as you can see right now, very big lead already, 1.2k gold in 7.5 minutes. I would say that the Nidalee teleport wasn't very necessary in my opinion. However, it is okay because they're gonna be swapping anyways for the grubs. But I think he could have held it to make it even better. So I'm gonna be skipping again towards minute 11, where Elyoya again finds a counter gank, just like in the first game where I showed you on the topside dive. He's gonna be counter ganking Targamas, again going for something desperate. And in my opinion, this play would never work because Nidalee has flash available. But Elyoya kind of reacts instantly. They get 2 kills. They kill the jungler and the top laner. Now Nidalee has 2 kills. Nidalee pushed out the wave, and now KC again gets desperate. It feels like they're just desperate throughout both games so far. And they actually use double teleport, which I don't think is necessary. They should only be using 1 teleport because they're just going to be losing too much on the other side. They will get the shutdown, but Mirwin literally forces at least 3-4 people on bot side, which means that Elyoya will have free time to farm. They will get mid pressure, and right now Jojopun will actually get 3 plates on the top side of the map, which actually just will be giving them a gold lead, regardless of the shutdown being given. So that was a very, very great counter gank and reaction by MKOI. And right now I'm gonna be skipping towards the minute 20, where there was a great bait again. So this is another scenario where, again, I think KC is going a little bit too deep, and I will be showing you how MKOI actually plays so patient with their champion. So KC just, I'm not sure what they're thinking here, but Yike is always looking to go very aggressive. And look how they just kite it out properly. They pillar, They just keep their range. They kite out the Skarner ultimate. They just hit him from range. As you can see, KC has no way to hit because they're just keeping their distance so well. And this is something that MKOI does very good every game they play in this series. And they just slowly clean up. And from this play, they just get the Atakan. So great, again, baiting Yike in, kiting him properly, getting the Atakan from it. Now, in this scenario, Dragon is spawning, and I believe that Jojo could be heading down, and actually they could be contesting this Drake because they do have 2 Drakes already. However, they decide to go for a 2.5 tower trade, which actually ends up being very good for them. As you can see in the gold right now, it's going to be a 2k deficit, and KC is obviously very desperate because MKOI already has 2 dragons. But what MKOI decides to do is, okay, we say, give the dragon, we push mid with the Herald, we get the mid tier 1, Jojo Pion gets top tier 2, and now they get another Herald charge on the mid tier 2. So as you can see right now, from 1.5k gold lead, they just made 4k gold lead. So they essentially just created the 2.5k gold lead by doing this. Plus they will get full topside control and they will get all the camps. So right now KC can't even re-enter their topside because they will just, they cannot walk into MKOI. So they use the tempo, they get the vision, they get the red buff, and they get out. Great stuff. Again, great sequence, gives them a great gold lead. 27-50. Again, I will show you they have a great setup. They pushed mid lane, they got full control. They're already sitting on the objective, hitting the objective as soon as it spawns. Alvaro standing in the front, hitting the dragon just as they do it every time. They CC, they one-shot the Skarner. Very easy, very clean. As you can see, they're not in danger at all. They're keeping their range. Jojo in very good position. Supa very good position. We're in very good position. They kill the jungler. The top laner, the support. And the enemy jungler is 1 HP, so it's a free Drake. So this is going to be the 3rd Drake for them. And they end up going for the Baron, which is obviously a great call because 2 people are dead and all they have to do is zone the Skarner, which obviously is flashless, so it's very impossible for him to get in. So they do get the Baron, and they will be able to crack open the tier 2 towers. Now this is a little bit of a scrappy fight. They end up getting mid tier 2, bot tier 2, great stuff. And now they will be resetting the map until the next dragon, which is in 140. So dragon spawning in 20 seconds. Again, they have control. They put their pings down. They hold the control. Play very slow. There's a teleport behind. They use the Talia wall to zone off and split the fight. Again, from this picture, the fight's already won. In my opinion, Yike is half HP, Kana is half HP. If MKOI would play it very smart and safe here, they would just hit the dragon and get the soul. However, they actually, in my opinion, do end up making a mistake and going a little bit too deep. They could have already backed off, especially after Yike flashed now. There's no way they can get back into the Drake. So what happens here is they go a little bit too deep, which of course happens. However, it's just not necessary. This can be a game throwing play, especially when you're 10k gold ahead. Plus you have 2 inhibs and you have the soul for free. Just go for the 100% play in my opinion. So they end up cleaning up a little bit still and they do still get the soul, but a little bit of a misplay. And now 2 inhibs. They just want to go siege top, of course. They end up getting a pick and they end up winning the game here. Now, again, great objective setup, great early game, great vision, great team fighting. They keep baiting KC in for plays, great counter ganks. They're just playing very well in my opinion. Now, the last game that I'm going to be reviewing is game 5. And I'm going to be talking about the first point, which is going to be at 11:30, which leads to a objective for MKOI. So here, there's a skirmish on the top side of the map. So Pike is obviously on top side of the map. So KC tries to get a pick on MKOI's mid and jungle, mid and support, sorry. And they actually use up Wukong ulti here, which is going to be very crucial. So essentially what I've noticed is that Wukong without ultimate is kind of not a champion. It's very ult reliant, so MKOI obviously knows that. And because they force the Wukong ulti, they can just use their mid lane prio, their TP back, and they get the second Drake of the game. Now notice they are 1.5k gold behind, because Casey's comp is actually very strong in the early game. However, MKOI understands that they are not feeling pressured because their comp will outscale them heavily in teamfights. So the second point is going to be the second dragon. It's going to be 1725, where I don't really understand why KC contests this dragon. If you look at their composition, there's no way they're going to win a fight 5 versus 5 unless they're like 5,000 gold ahead. If you look at this comp right here, the left comp is made to teamfight, to stand in front of you and just right click you, and there's not really any way KC can contest this dragon unless they already have the objective set up and they actually use their Zoe poke and they try to get a pick with Pike. So what they do here is kind of they walk into their own death. They don't have control of the area, which already means they shouldn't be contesting. However, they still try to contest, and they actually hook Alvaro over the wall, and they get a pick on the Pike. And the Aatrox is trying to flank, however, gets instantly CC'd by the Poppy. One-shotted, very good target selection by MKOI. They end up killing Yike as well. They get a Drake and they get 3 kills, and now the game is in a very hard spot for KC after being 2k gold ahead. So, in my opinion, KC should never contest this objective. However, they did, and now they're actually very behind. It might not look like it in gold, but in team composition-wise, it's going to be very hard for them to play the game from this point. Simply because they're just way weaker in team fights. So, I'm going to be showing you a blunder by MKOI, actually. So, what I notice here is that they send Joji Pion on top. They have full pressure. Drake and Atakan are up. And this should be a free objective, free Atakan for MKOI. However, they actually end up dropping the Atakan, and they actually end up doing nothing, which is very weird because they're very ahead. And they should know that KC is on the dragon. So a little bit of a blunder. They should have just been getting the Atakan here instead of getting nothing, because they just give over Drake for free and they actually get nothing besides top lane push. So a little bit of a blunder. However, again, they will be punishing over aggression by KC. As you can see here, they're trying to contest the Baron vision because Baron is spawning and MKOI is trying to control the area. They're trying to get control back because essentially if you don't have control, you cannot control waves and you will just slowly bleed. So as you can see here, Kana goes in, Yai gets caught, goes too deep again, something that I've been showing you throughout the whole series so far. And they get a pick on the jungler, which means that they can keep going, look for another pick. Jojo is fighting Kana, looking for a pick, using Ryze ulti to get a very good pick. And now the jungler and the top laner are dead, which leads into a Atakan for MKOI, into a reset. Now the dragon is spawning again in 30 seconds. So, here, 32 minutes in the game, Baron is up, and they have full control, pink on the Baron, pink over the wall, and they actually have a very clean Baron execution. So what they do is, they hold the Baron on 3000 HP, and they make sure that Wukong can never steal it. Okay, so this is something that is very important. A lot of teams mess this up. Very good execution. They have full control. They start a Baron. They wait, hold the Baron at 3000 HP. Then they decide, okay, we zone the Wukong. When Wukong goes in, we just kill him, get a free Baron. Now, they get a top tier 2, they reset, and the dragon is gonna spawn. Now again, they have mid lane control. They're pushing, trying to push KC out. And in this scenario, I think MKOI should have tried to spot the Wukong. However, they made a blunder once again. So they actually end up giving the Drake, which is okay. It's not a big deal because they actually still have the Baron, but they could have had the Soul from this point and the game would actually be unlosable. So the game-winning play is gonna be, again, KC being over-aggressive and MKOI punishing. And I think this is kind of the TLDR of the series. KC keeps overstepping, keeps contesting when they shouldn't, and MKOI is just punishing them over and over on objectives. On game-deciding moments like this, it's just what made the difference. And honestly, I'm very impressed by how MKOI played this series. A little bit disappointed by KC because they made a lot of errors. And honestly, MKOI playing very good around the objectives, playing very good early game, very decisive around objectives, which actually ends up winning them the series. So this was my analysis of the series. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like and a comment. And if you would like to see me analyze another series, make sure to suggest any series that you like and I will try to keep it in mind. Thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.